Hey, so in this video I wanted to talk about how deep down you're hurt a lot more than you really think, and most people don't realize just how deep their mental health issues go, and they're not aware of the amount of pain that they have underlying all of their issues. And so in this video I'm going to talk about that and explain how that works. This video and other videos like it are meant to sort of help give you a deeper understanding of your mental health issues and where they come from and why they exist and everything. Before I start talking about how to heal and what you need to do to heal and everything, I want to provide a really deep understanding of how mental health issues work and what they really are, because it's important that you understand what's going on in your mind and where your mental health issues are coming from. And by doing that, it'll make it much easier for you to deal with them and to work with them, and eventually it'll help you with healing as well. The more you understand about your situation and how you feel deep down, the easier it'll be for you to empathize with yourself and to know how to treat yourself properly to support yourself while you're dealing with your mental health issues. Most suffering of mental health issues comes just from fighting with them and resisting them and everything like that. And so these kinds of videos where I give you understanding of what's really going on deep down and what your mental health issues really are, even though they don't directly relate to healing, and I'll get to that stuff later, giving you this kind of understanding makes it much easier for you to deal with your mental health issues, which reduces the pain and the suffering you get from them drastically. So most people are unaware of how hurt they really are deep down. Most people don't even realize that mental health issues shows that they're hurt or they have some sort of emotional wounding deep down. Even when you realize that, and you realize that your issues come from some sort of childhood trauma, you don't understand how deep that goes and what it really means when you say that you're hurt and emotionally wounded. Again, to clarify what I mean by trauma, I'm talking about any kind of emotional wound or blockage from childhood that anyone can get, even from the mildest sort of things like being shamed in some way or anything. Everyone goes through this sort of wounding, and this is what I'm talking about by trauma. If you want more info on this, check out my video, how everyone has childhood trauma. So these insights that I'm going to be sharing with you today, I've gotten from going into my own mind and exploring my own situation. Most of this stuff that I'm going to be telling you about how hurt you really are and what your internal state really is, this stuff is all hidden from you, and so you don't see it on the surface, and so you only really become aware of it within yourself if you go deep diving into your mind to try and become aware of it. People can realize that they've been hurt or that they have childhood traumas like being shamed or something like that, but they don't really realize what that means and what that or how that stuff affects them. Children's minds work much differently than adults do, and so they can get hurt at a much deeper level than you can as an adult. So just to say that you were hurt or wounded as a child, that doesn't really help you understand what that really means and how deep that stuff goes, and that's what I'm going to explain in this video. To really understand what I'm going to be talking about here, you really need to become aware of this stuff yourself through looking into your own mind. That is what's really going to do it justice. But for now, I think just me explaining it to you is still good enough and will still help you. Also, keep in mind that the things I'm going to be talking about how children get wounded and how that affects them, keep in mind that this isn't the case for everyone, and not everyone will be hurt as deeply as I'm talking about, because of course there's varying levels of trauma and wounding and everything like that. But my main point with this video is that you're hurt more than you think you are, whatever level you're at. So children are purely emotional, and they don't have any rationalizing abilities or firmly held beliefs to help them make sense of what's going on and to reassure them that things are okay. They also take things very literally and very personally, and so it's really easy for them to get hurt emotionally. Because of this, when a child gets shamed in some way, which all of us do in one form or another, they take it very personally and literally, and they fully believe that they're bad and that something's wrong with them, and they have nothing in their mind to tell them otherwise. Also, when you become an adult, you sort of have layers to your mind that sort of protect the core of you. So even if someone hurts you or like says something to you and it bothers you, it can never hurt you as deeply as it could as when you're a child. As a child, you don't have those sort of layers protecting the core of you, and the core of who you are is very exposed and vulnerable. And so when you get shamed or hurt in some way, not only do you take it personally and feel like it's about you, but you feel like it's directly about the core of who you are and who you really are deep down, and like your truest and most authentic self. Like, you take it as personally as you possibly could. When your authentic self gets hurt in this way, it's completely devastating to the child, and it's nothing like being hurt as an adult. Like, it completely tears you apart, and it's like a shot to the heart. Like, it just destroys you. Nothing someone could say or do to you as an adult can hurt you in the way that it can as a child. Overall, like, my main point is that when a child gets wounded, they take it a lot more personally than you would imagine, and it hits them at a much deeper level than you would think, and because of that, it hurts them much more than you would imagine. And when you think about childhood trauma and being hurt in your childhood, people don't consider this or think about this, but because of how personal it is, it hurts them a lot more than you would think. Like I said, the way I know about this stuff is because I've gone diving around in my own mind and I've seen this stuff in myself. And so I wanted to talk about my own situation and the things that I've seen and how that's affected my relationship with myself. So before I talk about this, keep in mind that my issues are pretty severe and not everyone's are going to be this bad. So just keep in mind that this is just my own personal experience that I'm sharing. So with shame, you can get shamed for different things, like for different parts of you, and getting your emotions shamed and rejected is the most damaging, because your emotions are the core part of who you are, and they are your authentic self. And that's what I dealt with, is my emotions being shamed and rejected. And this is what I was talking about before, where it's like a part of your authentic self that you love so much is being shamed and hurt and separated from you, and it really just destroys you. I remember when I first became aware that I had lost such a huge part of myself, like such a part of myself that's so central to who I am and is not just like a character trait or something, but is part of who I really am at the core. I remember when I saw that this part of myself was hurt and that I lost it, I remember just how hard it was to deal with. It was like seeing this part of my authentic self who is still a child, and seeing that he's been so hurt and so shamed and rejected and taken advantage of and things like that. And because this is my authentic self and who I really am, and this part of me means so much to me, seeing a part of myself in that state was just it just hurt so much, and it was so hard to see. It's sort of comparable to a parent who has a child that they really love, and then one day that child gets hit by a car or something, and then the parent sees that child and sees like them just absolutely destroyed and just how hurt they are, and then imagine how devastating that is for the parent. Like, when I see that part of myself that's completely hurt and rejected and taken away from me, and it's a part of me that I love so much and is so important to me because it's my true self, it just breaks your heart to see that, and it's so hard to deal with. And I can totally see how being hurt at that level could really mess a person up. And after seeing that and just how it felt, like it makes me empathize with people so much more, and I totally understand how like something like that could really mess someone up. Another thing that I've seen within myself is usually your negative emotions and your mental health issues and stuff, they appear as just feelings in your mind, and you don't really see the part of yourself that's feeling them. And so because these emotions are coming from a real human part of yourself that's hurt deep down, when you're not aware of that and all you see is the feelings, you don't realize that these emotions are coming from a real part of yourself. And I remember the first time I became aware of that, and I saw that within myself, and I saw my own emotions as coming from a real part of me and not just being feelings. I was able to see that the shame I feel and the negative emotions I feel and things like that, they're not just feelings in my mind, they're emotions that a part of me is feeling, a part of me that is just as much me as the one talking to you right now. Like, it's literally me who is the one who is feeling those emotions and who is hurt in that way. And these emotions aren't separated from me in any way, and they're not outside of me or something other than me. They are my own emotions. They've just been suppressed and taken away from me. And when I saw that, I realized that I'm the one that's hurt and I'm the one that is feeling these emotions. And at that point, I really understood like how hurt I am, and I understood why I feel the way that I do and everything like that. That really made me empathize with myself and see that everything that I feel and everything that I'm dealing with is all completely valid and there for a good reason, because I could see that it's because a part of me is really hurt deep down, and because of that, everything is there for a good reason, and it all deserves love and understanding. I also remember that one time I had this THC infused weed cookie that I ate, and I had like just a quarter of it left, and I kind of wanted to just finish it to get it out of the way. And so I ate it one night, and with weed edibles, or I guess weed in general, it can be psychedelic sometimes, especially if you take it in higher doses only once in a while, like less frequently, which was the case for me. And so with psychedelics, what they do is they can bring your unconscious mind and your shadow into the forefront of your mind, and it can make you become aware of it. And so that's sort of what happened for me. That night when I took that quarter of the cookie, I didn't expect it to be psychedelic, but it ended up being that way. And so that was my first time experiencing a psychedelic. But during that trip, what happened is that all the stuff in my shadow came pouring out into my conscious mind, and I got a really good glimpse at my internal situation and how I really felt deep down. And this is like the deepest I've ever seen my internal state and how I feel, which, I mean, it makes sense because you're going to see more on psychedelics than you would just through looking into your mind on the surface. But I wanted to bring this up in this video because I wanted to tell you what I saw and everything I've seen in my mind. And so basically what happened on this trip is that I noticed that, so I was just like, first of all, I was just relaxing and just enjoying it and listening to music and whatever. And then I noticed I started to get these feelings coming up, like feelings of shame and sort of fear and uneasiness coming up. And by the way, after this point, this whole trip was pretty uncomfortable, and I would consider it a bad trip, and I really didn't like it. But afterwards, after what happened, I don't really have a problem with that happening, and I'm kind of glad that it did because of what it showed me and what I got to see. But basically, these emotions started to come up, and I started to feel like uneasy, and basically it sort of just brought me through and showed me my internal situation and the depth of the pain that I'm in. So I remember that it brought me into this state where I sort of felt like I was my child self, like I felt like I was a little kid. And then I noticed I felt a lot of shame and sadness, and this shame just got really deep, and I really got a good sense of what it was like to be in that state as that child self and as that part of me that lives deep down within me. So along with just feeling shame and feeling bad or like something's wrong with me or whatever, I just remember feeling a lot of sadness as well. Like, I don't personally deal with depression, and I never have, but I noticed that there's a lot of sadness within me as well, and the sadness comes from losing a part of myself. Like, I distinctly remember feeling like I am this part of myself, like this child self, and I remember feeling like I've been shamed and I've been hurt so badly, and I just feel so sad and disappointed because I'm like this little kid, and I'm just born like a few years ago, and like I'm excited to explore and enjoy life and everything, and all of a sudden I've been hurt so badly and burdened by all this stuff, and now I feel like I'm not gonna get to live my life how I want to, and I'm not gonna get to enjoy life because I'm like, this part of me has been pushed away and so hurt, and I just remember like this huge sense of sadness and disappointment just lingering through that. I also remember having like this deep feeling of loneliness, not your typical sense of loneliness of just not having people around, but feeling a deep sense of loneliness within me because of the fact that who I really am and my true self has been suppressed and separated from me. So that part of me, like who I really am, can never connect with people because it's hidden away. And because of that, I'm lonely, really, really lonely deep down. And I was just feeling that for the first time and really got immersed in that feeling. I also remember feeling just really afraid and vulnerable in this state. It felt like because this part of me is still a little kid, and during this trip I was sort of in his shoes and feeling like I was that little kid and was that part of myself. I felt like because I'm still a little kid in that state and I'm so vulnerable, and because of all of the shame that I feel like no one would be there to protect me and no one would be there to save me, because no one loves me because of the shame I feel. And I remember feeling that if something were to happen to me, that I would have no chance of surviving because I'm all alone and no one would be there for me. And I just remember feeling like a combination of just fear and sadness because of that. It also just felt like I wasn't surprised that this was the case, and all this stuff about me being alone and like no one being there for me and being so afraid, and also just all the pain and stuff that I've gone through in my life from having these mental health issues and all the issues and the suffering that they've created. I feel like all of this stuff and all of this pain is like, I wasn't surprised that I'm going through it, and I sort of expected to go through it because I feel like I deserve it because of all the shame, the deep shame that I feel, and feeling like I'm so bad or something's so wrong with me or whatever. So obviously seeing all that stuff was really uncomfortable and hard to deal with, but I'm glad that that happened and that I got to see all that stuff, because it gave me a lot more awareness into my situation and what I'm dealing with deep down. After that trip, I also sort of realized how much this stuff affects my life, and that it's not just that I have mental health issues and that's like the end of it. It's that because of how hurt I am deep down, this affects my life in so many different ways, and because of that, I can't really expect myself to ever be happy or to ever enjoy my life that much until this stuff is healed. It's just not realistic to expect that. And so out of this stuff that I realized and all these implications and stuff, I definitely want to make videos in the future talking about the implications of childhood trauma and the effect that it has on people's lives for more than just mental health issues. This trip made me realize just how important it is for me to address this deep-rooted trauma that I'm dealing with, and how I need to address it not just to overcome my mental health issues, but if I want to be happy and have a good life in any way, I need to address this, and it's really important for me. Overall, all of this stuff has made me a lot more understanding and empathetic towards myself, and I really have a good understanding as to why I am the way I am, why I feel the way I do and do the things that I do, and I don't judge myself for it. And after seeing just how hurt I am, like I completely understand why I do these things and feel the way I do, and I would never judge myself for it, and I would be surprised if I wasn't that way, seeing how hurt I am. And so that level of empathy and understanding has really helped me to deal with my emotions better and to support myself through it. And that's sort of the whole point in me telling you this stuff, is to share that with you and to help you get an understanding of your own situation. Another thing is after realizing all of this stuff, I can see how important it is to address the root cause and the root issue that's creating the mental health issues. And I know that the mental health industry today doesn't do that at all, and they see mental health issues as being there for no reason, and they see it as sort of a dysfunction or malfunctioning of the brain in some way, or as some sort of faulty beliefs or behavior patterns that the mind is picked up on that you have to train yourself out of or something. And that's really not the case at all. And in reality, all of your mental health issues and negative emotions and stuff like that, they're all there for a good reason, and they all have a right to be there, and they exist because of the deeper level trauma and pain trapped within you from your childhood. And so if the mental health industry wants to improve, it needs to start to address this deeper level stuff, because that's the only way that you'll heal. You'll never heal just by addressing the stuff at the surface and by trying to get rid of symptoms. But yeah, like I said before, the whole point of this video is for me to help give you a deeper understanding of your own situation, what you might be dealing with. Like I said, you have to see this within yourself, in your own experience, by going into your own mind and seeing it for yourself, and that is what will really help you understand this. You can only understand it so much just from me telling you about it, but it still helps a bit for me to tell you. And so you'll start to see this stuff as you do healing work, which is what I'll talk about in the future and show you how to do. But I hope what I've told you today can help you be more understanding of yourself and your own situation, and also other people and their situations and what they might be dealing with, and see how all of this stuff leads to the sort of negative emotions and negative behaviors and habits that people do and that people have. And so I hope that you can understand that a lot better now. So that's everything I wanted to talk about for today. Hopefully this video was helpful to you and gave you more insight on your own situation. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it. Leave a comment if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to ask. And be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And I'll see you in my next video.